Nato is likely facing its toughest
Trade gold. Long and short. Get the Trading 212 app now.
NATO is likely facing its toughest mission yet, convincing U.S. President Donald Trump to abandon demands to take over Greenland.
We need it for national security.
We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not.
We need Greenland.
Trying to discern what's bluster and what's serious about the president's intentions is now the biggest transatlantic guessing game going. Taking Greenland by force or coercion would mean the U.S. turning on an ally, Denmark, and that could spell the end of NATO. In September, NATO staged Operation Arctic Light in Greenland, meant to demonstrate that NATO can project force into the Arctic right now, and that the United States owning Greenland isn't necessary. And Denmark says starting immediately, it will have a bigger military footprint on Greenland and a more permanent presence going forward.
Currently, we are working on the next steps to make sure that, indeed, we collectively protect what is at stake here.
So far, though, Trump has sounded unimpressed.
I could put a lot of soldiers there right now if I want, but you need more than that. You need ownership. You really need title, as they say in the real estate business.
The world's largest island, Greenland, is semi-autonomous. Its 57,000 residents, mostly Inuit, are part of the Kingdom of Denmark, but its long, often unpleasant colonial history has led many Greenlanders to aspire to independence. Joining the United States was never on the horizon.
Last year it was just something joke, something we take it, Greenland is not for sale, it's just a joke. But now we're nervous about what if they come and World War begins again.
Yeah. In tonight's deep dive, the growing rift between the Trump administration and some of the United States' historic allies in Europe over a potential U.S. takeover of Greenland. President Trump says that he wants to take control of the island, which is a Danish territory, for national security reasons. Leaders on the other side of the Atlantic have resoundingly condemned the idea, as well as the tariffs President Trump says he'll impose on European countries who don't go along. Now, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who says he spoke with President Trump earlier today, also said that applying tariffs on allies for pursuing collective security for NATO allies is wrong. For more on this, I'm joined by former U.S. Ambassador to Poland, Daniel Fried, as well as ABC News contributor and former U.S. Ambassador to NATO, retired Lieutenant General Doug Lute. Thank you both for joining me. Ambassador Lute, I want to play part of what Republican Congressman Michael McCaul said earlier today on This Week when asked about what the Trump administration's push to take control of Greenland could mean for the future of the NATO alliance. Take a listen to this.
If he wants to purchase Greenland, that's one thing. But for him to militarily invade would turn Article 5 of NATO on its very head and, in essence, put us at war with NATO itself. It would end up abolishing NATO as we know it, an organization that has lasted for over 4 to 5 decades and protected us from world wars.
Ambassador Lute, what impact do the president's threats have on the future of the NATO alliance?
Well, as the congressman mentioned, NATO has counted for over 75 years, so since 1949, on two fundamentals. First of all, American leadership among the now 32 allies, but second of all, a binding trust among the allies that they really have one another's backs. And I think the president's most recent threats of tariffs and potentially even military action against an ally in Greenland place both of those founding principles at risk.
Now, Ambassador Fried, Denmark's foreign minister, said earlier today that the United States is more than just the president, and also that there's a system of checks and balances. What impact can members of Congress and the American public have on whether or not the Trump administration follows through on the threats of taking control of Greenland?
I think Congress can have a major impact. There seems to be very little support in Congress for U.S. military action against an ally for no good reason. And there would be no good reason for attacking Greenland. There's no U.S. interest that we can better achieve through cooperation. In any event, Congress, there have been bills introduced, bipartisan bills in both the House and the Senate, to block the use of funds for any military pressure against Greenland. Now, I don't know that these bills could get a veto-proof majority, but they seem to have a lot of momentum behind them. And I think that given the lack of support in Congress, that could make a difference.
A number of European countries, including the UK, issued a strong joint statement saying the president's threat of more tariffs on European goods unless the US is allowed to buy Greenland from Denmark undermines transatlantic relations. EU ambassadors have been holding emergency talks in Brussels. Our first report tonight is from Nick Beake, who's there.
This evening, beyond these unremarkable Brussels walls, an emergency meeting of EU diplomats, trying to respond to President Trump's latest extraordinary Greenland tariff threat, or blackmail, as Denmark has put it.
We have been asking since the very beginning of this to have a constructive dialogue with our American ally and friends. We opened that dialogue last week. We will not give up on that.
On the one hand, we stand with the Kingdom of Denmark in defense of its sovereignty, but we're also ready to do more together with America and with all our allies in the Arctic.
If you have a pension, this might be worth a moment of your time. On the 15th of October 2025, Capita were fined £14 million by
In Greenland, NATO's Arctic bravado collapses into farce. Italy calls Washington's troop talk a bad joke, exposing the emptiness of European posturing. A few hundred soldiers cannot secure a continent, nor stop Arctic ambitions, while the US eyes strategic minerals and sea routes. Brussels stumbles, paralyzed by rhetoric and moralizing. Copenhagen strengthens defenses as Europe's so-called unity crumbles.
Hey everybody, Chuck Holton here. So I want to talk to you about something today that's been coming up a lot lately, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now, Greenland and President Trump and everything else. It's this question about NATO and the United States and basically who needs who more. And look, I know it sounds kind of simple, but when you actually dig into it, it gets complicated pretty fast. So here's the thing. NATO was founded back in 1949, and the whole idea was this collective defense alliance where if one country gets attacked, everybody comes to help. And it's like the ultimate we've got your back situation. And now we've got 32 countries in this alliance, which actually is pretty wild when you think about it. But lately, especially with Russia invading Ukraine and all the tension that's been building, people are asking this question more and more. Does NATO need the U.S. more than the U.S. needs NATO? And honestly, when you look at the numbers, it's kind of hard to argue that NATO doesn't rely heavily on America, like really heavily. The U.S. accounts for somewhere between 65 to 70% of all NATO defense spending in real terms. That's not a typo. We're talking about the U.S. spending close to $1 trillion on defense, $968 billion to over $1 trillion, depending on which estimate you're looking at. And that just dwarfs what everybody else is putting in. But it's not just about money, right? It's about what that money buys. The U.S. brings capabilities to the table that Europe just doesn't have, or at least.
Wow, on change the subject. I had a chance to visit America's main Army hub over in Europe at Clay Caserne Army Air Base, where I caught up with Army 4-star General Christopher Donahue. And even got a chance to go on a Black Hawk and so much more. Watch.
7-hour flight, quick jog over to the hotel, 45 minutes, jump in the shower, and I'm at the headquarters of the U.S. Army Europe and Africa. So much action here. I'm at the Clay Caserne Air Base. So, General, this is where you work every day.
This is where we work, and we're in a great environment right now. We're unchained, but this organization has incredible history. Right here is the globe off of Hitler's desk.
Get out of here.
It reminds us of where this headquarters started and what we have to do every day. Brian, come on in.
All right. Now, this is an office. Yeah. This is more like feels like a command center more than an office.
It is. Right? We can do everything we need to out of here.
What is your job?
I'm the Army Component Commander for all of Europe, all of Africa, and also for NATO.
You got Ukraine 650 miles away. And you have breaches of the borders of a lot of our NATO allies. When you talk about the men and women here, does it feel like you're almost in a war footing?
We are developing the right way to fight anywhere in the world, a global capability that can go anywhere, and make sure that we're now, all these unmanned systems that you're seeing out there, how do you harness that? And right now it seems like it's a very defensive fight going on everywhere, and that's true. We have to turn it into an offensive capability. And everyone in the military is working on it, but we are in a unique position where we can drive that even faster.
You cannot have a full day on an Army base like this and not train, do some PT. All right, so you've customized a workout for me, or am I just jumping into something you do every day?
Jumping in, we do it for the soldiers every day, and so I would advise me putting that down, boss.
Put this down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready, set, and go.
Never did a deadlift before. This will be interesting. How important is the PT?
Oh, it's one of the most important things that we do in the military.
You look like you train every day. Am I right?
Yes, sir, I do.
Right. It keeps me dialed in, keeps me just grounded, and of course keeps me physically fit, ready for anything. So, Colonel Weissman, you had me at PT, you gave me a towel and a shower, and now where have you brought me?
So now that you're cleaned up, we brought you into the heartbeat of the command. This is how we track operations, and we're ready to respond to crisis or conflict across 104 countries.
That's a live motion map, like tracking drones, correct?
Yes, sir. So that's tracking drones, that's tracking news headlines about drones, it's tracking friendly unit locations of NATO allies and U.S. forces, sir.
Our responsibility here is to ensure that the authentic events that are happening on the ground are being reported to our soldiers and sailors here in theaters.
If I said AI was going to be dominating your career 4 years ago, you're like, I don't think so.
Absolutely.
But it is right now.
It is 100%. Yeah. Anything that we see here is all ran through AI, right? Helps us gauge the situation better.
Colonel, that is so impressive, knowing also that you're monitoring this 24 hours a day.
Yeah, Brian, you only saw the unclassified portion of this?
Wait, that was unclassified.
Yeah, wait till you see what happens after we leave here on the screen.
So they dimmed some screens because I'm here.
That's right. That's right.
I don't take it personal. Where are we heading now?
Now we're going to show you where we build the drones.
This is a place of innovation. It's not of mass production. What they come up with here, they bring to the battlefield rapidly. What are you working on?
Currently, I am 3D printing additional parts for the wing sections of our unmanned aerial system.
When you guys come up and innovate something cutting edge, something brand new, how soon can you get it to the battlefield?
So you can get it as soon as you need it. A lot of this can be done in less than a day.
Wow. Thanks for listening to me, guys. Just know that I appreciate you every day. Hey, Mr. President, it's Brian. I'm here with the European and African Command, General Donahue's unit over here.
You're doing a fantastic job. Your reputation is great. Next year, I'm increasing the military spending to $1.5 trillion, which is, it's now at $1 trillion. Nobody got close to that, but it was for me. We need it. You know, we have a lot of threats. And when they saw what we did in Venezuela, everybody was watching. When they saw what we did in Venezuela, they said, whoa, we got to slow down against the United States.
Mr. President, thank you for taking great care of us. We can't thank you enough for pushing for what we have to have. So thank you on behalf of all of us here.
Guys, one final sign-off.